What? Hey, the lights are on. Hashtag, let's get ready to go. Thank you for joining us this morning. Peace and love. My name is Darius A. Stanton, and we are here with the lights of the round table. And guess what? Today, the word is going to be the light, the spoken word. And you'll hear from our guests in a minute, but we are so excited to be here with you. Thank you for joining us. And good morning, Queen Darlene Brown. Peace and love.
Well, grateful Grand Rising to the King, and hello, grateful Grand Rising to all of our viewers. So excited to be here for another day and excited to welcome our other King, Marcus Johnson. How are you this morning?
Man, I'm hanging in there. Glad to be alive. Had a couple of great days. Looking forward to today's show. And as everybody else is, thanking everybody for being here and continuing to spread the light because it's starting to spread on its own. And that's very, very exciting.
I'm so excited about that. The fact that the lights are on. Make sure you, just as you join the show today, please let us know that you're with us by hitting that famous hashtag the lights are on. And also today, you're able to join us. So please share, go to subscribe to our YouTube page. That's right, the Lights of the Round Table on YouTube right now live. So please make sure you subscribe as well as like and share, because we want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to feel the light. Speaking of light, I do want to take a moment. We're in the midst of challenge all over the world. And so right now, there are a lot of people that have come out of a beautiful time, Mother's Day, celebrating their moms, and just a lot of wonderful things, energy, positivity, and it's so important that we continue to push and promote positive news, positive information. And right now, there are some challenges in the midst of all the beauty and all the light. There are folks who are waking up to bombardment, to destruction, to death. And, as we close on the holy time of Ramadan for those who are of the Islamic faith, we just send our hearts and our prayers to those families that are in the Middle East right now, that are going through that trial, struggle, and tribulation. And unfortunately, we don't have to go just to the Middle East. We have cities right here in the United States of America that witness and feel war and tyranny every single day. They hear gunshots, they hear bombs, they hear sirens, they hear, it's unfathomable, but it happens here in the United States every single day. And so,
please don't forget in Colombia. I mean, we are kind of victims of our news, but it's worldwide. And don't forget the students who are protesting, just wanting to get heard and to get and receive an education in Bogota and Medellin as well. There are travesties going on down there too. So we have to put light on that as well.
No question. Thank you so much for bringing that to light. And any other place that we need to shine the light on and give that positive energy and that love, because we know that love is the greatest, I won't even call it I'll say resource, the greatest tool.
Greatest highest energy frequency there is on earth.
There you go. There you go. So on that note, we definitely want to continue to make sure that the lights are on and that we continue to shine. And so no further ado, let's get on to our lady of the day. We are so excited. I'm excited just about the name itself is powerful, right? Prior to the show, I told her how much I crazy. So no further, I am going to step back and allow Darlene Brown, please, the opportunity to introduce our illustrious guest, award-winning. Take it away, Darlene.
Of course. I am overwhelmed, joyous, and excited to welcome Mrs. Kanikki Jakarta Mix. She is the first African-American poet laureate of Alexandria, Virginia. Woo, woo! To all of my spoken word poets out in the world, and if you know me, you know I'm a lover of poetry because I am also a poet. But Kanikki Jakarta is also a published author. She is also a business owner of Great Publishing. She also leads a weekly open mic poetry at Busboys and Poets in Shirlington, Alexandria, which you can catch virtually because we're still dealing with the pandemic. But connect with Busboys and Poets on Instagram, and you can catch all of her featured guests and her wonderful husband, who is also a poet known as 13. I got a shout out to him. But Kanikki, I'm so excited to have you here. We go way back, and it is just an honor to have you as a guest on the Lights of the Round Table, where you can share some of your illustrious words and a little bit about who you are and your journey and the experience being the first African American woman poet laureate, of course, in Alexandria, Virginia. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Here we are, Darlene, almost 2 decades
Yeah.
since we met.
Wow. So see, there you go.
Almost 2 decades. When I met you, we were doing the Kings and Queens of Poetry.
That's right. That's right. Look at that. So I
Yes,
am so
it's been a while.
excited. Long time, long time. But you've done phenomenal work. You've published several other authors through your publishing company. Tell me, as a business owner first, because I understand as being a business owner, the challenges, particularly in publishing. Talk a little bit about that experience for you, going from, being a poet and then making a decision to develop or start your own publishing company.
Okay. I actually wanted to publish a book. I would go to these poetry open mics. I would see people with books in their hands, and I would say, "How did you do that?" And it was like some type of secret society. Okay, nobody would tell me. I would get. It was a long story. I can't tell you right now all of this. So then I met a poet. His name is Drew. He goes by Droopy the Broke Baller Anderson. And I said, same question, how'd you do that? And he gave me a lot of information on how I could do it. So that was the self-publishing route. I submitted some of my books to some publishing companies, and I got accepted by Durant's Publishing, but I found out that they keep the rights to your book. So I was like, I don't want to go this route. So, and back when I first started publishing, self-publishing is great now, but back then it was frowned upon, right? So I said, well, if I start a publishing company and I put my book under the publishing company, then I will be not self-published. So I took a startup class to start an LLC. It was like 6 weeks long, started a business, put my book under it. And then people started to ask me, how did you do that? So I started telling them everything that Droopy had told me. And then people started saying, hey, well, I don't want to do all that. Can you do it for me? So this is kind of how everything got started. So nowadays, I really haven't been promoting the publishing company. However, because people see the books and then they say, who did that? So I'm still getting clients, even though like if you go to greatpublishing.com right now, it just says greatpublishing.com. But we have published several people. Even during the pandemic, we published 3 authors. So people were really on their game. Like, let's get ready to publish now since I'm at home. Let me finish writing my book, Yeah. So that is how I got started. And I was looking for a name for the publishing company. And there's a scripture that says wait a minute, hold on. I don't want to misquote it. I'm going to misquote it.
It's okay.
But it's something like the word was good and great are the people who published it. So I have to look that up. I think it's Psalms 69:11. I think that's what it is, 69:11. So I was like, hey, so actually my husband found that. So I said, hey, Great Publishing. And that's how we got started. So I said, we started doing events. We do more events than we do publishing. Okay. So it's awesome. It's been since 2003.
2003. And what was your first book that you published under your business, The Great Publishing?
My book was called The Skills of a Sister.
Skills. And was that a poetry book?
It was a poetry book.
It
was a poetry book, and it was illustrated by Bobby Bryant II. And really nice, he read some of my work and wanted to draw to it. So it was beautiful. We should do that again.
It was definitely. And so how long have you been leading the Monday night open mic poetry for Busboys and Poets? Because I know you've been doing that for a number of years, right?
Yes, the real answer is I don't remember. That's the real answer. I started working with Busboys and Poets in 2005 when they just had the 14th and V location.
Yes.
I started working with, they opened the doors for us to do the 11th hour poetry slam, and I would help the sister there that was over it, and just, you know, co-hosting, helping her with the slams, taking scores, that type of thing. And then they opened up a Virginia location, and I said I will only host at the Virginia location. That's it. So
but I remember even before then when you would be hosting poetries and traveling and speaking. So tell me what inspired you. I mean, I always think poets are born, right? They're not necessarily created. And so have you always been a writer? Have you always been a poet in your soul? And when
I
did you
have been a
identify
poet.
yourself as that?
I have been a poet from the womb. And since Darius brought up my name, I'll start there. My mother read a lot of Nikki Giovanni poetry with me while I was in the womb. She loved Nikki Giovanni, and she thought to name me Nikki Giovanni because she loved the poet. This is back in the 70s. So at the last minute, she decided I probably should give her her own name, right? Because she might be something special. So she named me Kanikki instead. So Nikki Giovanni is my namesake. I was named after a poet. When I was in elementary school, I took poetry as a class. I went to a private Christian school. We had poetry as a class, and I took poetry. I would win the poetry contest. This was like Strickler. You know, you get this big book. You pick a poem, you learn the poem, you recite the poem, and there's a panel of people standing there making sure you say all the words, pause where there's commas, you know, and give it some kind of flair. So one year, so you would compete in the classroom, compete against the school, and then they had a national slam. So one year I didn't win. A friend of mine, Brandy, I'll never forget, she won. I didn't win. We did the same poem. She won. So I said, how did she win? My dad said, because she said the poem better than you. And I said, well, next year I'll write my own poem. So after that, I started writing my own poetry, and it would be like Kanikki Williams with an original piece. So I was winning poetry slams. But then when I went to public school, they didn't have that, right? They had a poetry, you know, how you have like 6 weeks of poetry or something during school where you're reading like Willie Dickinson or something, you know, they had that, but I was still always writing poetry. My dad, God rest his soul, loved Dr. Seuss. I thought my dad was Dr. Seuss growing up because my dad's name is Sam, and he would quote Dr. Seuss around the house. He'd be like, I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like it, Sam, I am. So I thought when I got the Dr. Seuss green eggs and ham book, I was a child. I didn't know it was Christmas. I opened it up and said, my dad is Dr. Seuss. So for a long time, I didn't think to ask the question. I was like, my dad has published a book under the name Dr. Seuss. So I didn't know. I love Dr. Seuss. I love Maya Angelou. I, of course, love Nikki Giovanni, and have had a chance to talk to her and sit with her, you know, in later years and tell her about how it was named after her, ask her some questions about how she's done it from the 70s and now she's in her 70s.
Wow. What a blessing.
Yeah.
To have had the opportunity to meet and talk with her. Well, I would love for you to share some of your amazing poetry, and then you're going to share a piece later before you leave in the show. Is that all right?
That's okay. So let me whip out the book, child, so I can make sure that I get all the words right. So you know the thing.
I know that's right. And please make sure, everyone, that you start to click, 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 and get ready, get them fingers ready to snap, 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 snap. I can't wait to hear it, and so is our audience waiting. They're already pumped up with the lights are on, all excited, waiting for Kanikki Jakarta. Take it away. Right.
Okay, this piece is called Walking. When a toddler stands for the first time, an audience assembles, a cheering section emerges. Hope urges a first step. Hands reach towards her in case she needs help. We all know that she can do it. So we wait and we anticipate the steps she'll take, the ones that will give her the cognizance and confidence to walk in her walk. And when she falls, she's met with applause, hands extended, encouraging her to begin again, telling her to begin again, because life is a walk and we're all willing to talk her through it with a little bit of encouragement. But when an adult stands for the first time, an audience of naysayers assembles, awaiting a downfall, an assembly of onlookers, no hands extended, only fingers pointed in the wrong direction, no compassion, no affection, but life is a walk, and some people are afraid to get lost in the steps of the past. See, sometimes we have to make our own paths, nothing leading the way but determination and hope, walking a tightrope of the unexpected, swallowing rejections like a horse pill, but you can't stand still, not if you want to live, not if you're willing to make a life for a living, not if you're willing to take a chance on yourself. See, sometimes there'll be no one there to help you but you. Sometimes you have to encourage yourself. You have to be your own cheerleader, your own leader, your own boss, whatever it costs. Sometimes you have to go broke to be enriched, to be whole, to mold yourself into yourself. And with God's help, anything, no, everything is possible.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Now that's some light for your soul. She said, now everything is
Everything.
possible. Everything. Oh, that was beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah.
So amazing. So it is no wonder that you also represent the city of Alexandria with an esteemed honor. Darlene, share with us, please, as your representative of also, I believe you're a citizen.
I am a resident of Alexandria, Virginia. And yes, Kanikki, how did you come to get this esteemed honor of being the first African-American poet laureate of Alexandria? Was there a vote? Did you have to, what's that process like? And did you know it was coming?
Well, this was let me just say, when they say, if at first you don't succeed, try again. I had to try, because this is my third time trying to be the poet laureate, and then I got it, right?
Wow.
So in 2016, okay, when I applied in the beginning, it was like early on in my poetry career. I didn't even know what poet laureate was. I just saw it. I was like, oh, represent the city? Oh, okay, let me apply for this, right? But so I applied, didn't get it, hadn't done anything, just put my name out there. And then in 2016, I said, it's time for me to be the poet laureate. So I applied for it. And I also applied for a contest called the Dashing Words Contest. And if you win the Dashing Words Contest, your poetry is on the buses and the trolleys in Alexandria for April and May. So I won the Dashing Words Contest. I didn't win the Poet Laureate Contest. So I went to the program where they were introducing the poet laureate who had taken the title. His name is Ryan. I can't remember his last name at the time. And I looked at Ryan's bio and I saw everything that Ryan had done. And everything Ryan had done was in the city of Alexandria. Now me, I had done a lot of things: poetry award shows, poetry balls, open mics, slams. I had presented a lot of different events and did different platforms. However, everything that I did was in DC or Maryland. When I came here in 2000, DC was the scene. U Street was jumping. It was Chocolate City, right? So I just went where the poetry was. And instead of building from scratch, I just added on to what was already there. So I said, okay, so now I see that I need to bring my work to Alexandria. So when I won the Dashing Words contest and I presented it at the Athenaeum, the director at the time, she looked me up because I was performing poetry. Everybody else was kind of like reading from the stage. She was impressed. She emailed me and said, would you like to do something here? Like, do you want to do, you have novels? Do you want to do like a book reading? Do you want to do a poetry show? Because you do poetry. You want to host the poetry? You want to do a one-woman show? What do you want to do? And I said, yes, I want to do all of those things. So now I am partnered with the Athenaeum, where I have workshops there. I do Write Like a Woman workshop. I do, usually I do an evening with Kanikki J. I didn't do it last year because of the pandemic. I might not do it this year because of the pandemic. So it might be back next year. So, and then I have poetry events there. I do an event called Aware that actually Darlene was in as well. And so that was how my journey started. To become the poet laureate this time, though, you had to submit 10 anonymous poems. The board reads your poetry. and they see what poems they like the best. Then they see who those poems belong to. They read what you write a statement saying what you would do in that role. So if they like what you said, they brought you in for an interview. So this time it was 3 finalists. They said this has never happened in the history of poet laureateism. That's not a word, but yeah. I came out, and then when I looked up the history, I found out, hey, there has not been one Black person this entire time. So I said, oh, so if I win this would be great. I'd be the first Black poet laureate. So I had to then, because I was one of the finalists, I had to go back, write a poem about diversity, write a poem about Alexandria and what I would do in the first 90 days. Now, I always say that the reason that I got the title is because the other people were talking about what they would do. I was telling them what I am doing. So even though I hadn't had a poet laureate title, all of the places and all the things that I was going to do in the next 90 days, it was already booked. It's already selling tickets to, already a venue. This is already happening. So whether it happens as Kanikki Jakarta the poet or Kanikki Jakarta the poet laureate, just depended on whether or not I was voted in, because I'm going to do these things regardless. So
Kanikki, hey, it's Marcus. So sorry for cutting you off, but I don't want you to get too far past some of your, you're dropping points. And so I want to stop you. Do you think, talk about the idea of you earning the position of poet laureate as a very qualified, well-researched person that went through a process, was told no, continued down the path, refined it, went back and made it happen. And whether you think that you're the first African-American, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Do you think that's because you're Black or because you did the work?
Well, I think because I'm Black has nothing to do with it. I think that it was God's plan that I am poet laureate in this time, because it's not lost upon me. Because the young lady who had it before, her name's Wendy Kaplan. Shout out to Wendy. We are good friends, and she actually changed the board. She said it needs to be younger people on this board. Who's looking for people for bright ideas, or better ideas, bright ideas, not new ideas. So she changed. She was the one who created a different board of people before she left this title, right? Now, the people on the board already knew who I was, because I had made myself, here's Kanikki. You know what I'm saying? I was at all the board stuff. I'm there. You understand what I'm saying? Because you're going to know who I am, whether I'm the poet laureate or not. Now, the reason I said I think it's God's plan is because if you think about, I've been poet laureate since April 2019. If you think about what has happened from then until now, with all of the Black Lives Matter, they just in Alexandria, they did a placard, a memorial for Joseph McCoy, who was a Black boy who was hanged in Alexandria. It was him and Benjamin Thompson, right? So they had to have someone. The poet laureate speaks to these things. Who better to speak to that than a Black person? You understand what I'm saying? So it's not lost upon me that God put me here, because the voice that needs to be heard now, all of the things that they're saying, can you write about? When they have a graveyard that they found that was under it was under Excellence Station. They cleared it off, found the descendants, right? So somebody needs to speak to that. This is all the slaves that were here in Alexandria, right? Somebody needs to speak to that. Who better to speak to that than a Black person? But
the thing about it is, I just want to make sure, I am Christian. You're right. My folk will tell you that I believe that the miracle happens every day that we wake up and every time our heart beats. But I think sometimes I just want to make sure that it is, and I want to say this very carefully, because I believe that there are people out there that believe it's only God. Yeah. And I think that God set everything up. So it's always God, right? It's not only God, it's always God. But the free will that we have to get up every morning and say that I'm going to win my family's poetry contest next year, is a blessing given to us, but we have to do the work. You know, go ahead.
I was going to say, Marcus, and I want to get in here to make the point, not because it was God's plan before the other one, right? It's always God's plan. However, as a spiritual being with an assignment from God in this earthly realm, I have a responsibility to align and connect with my higher self, which is God, and to be in God directs, orchestrates, communicates with me so that I'm taking appropriate action. So Kanikki, although it was God's plan for you to be poet laureate in this time, you also took responsibility to position yourself in the right place. You made a decision to, I'm going to do events in Alexandria before you applied for that position. So God was guiding and leading and directing your actions because he had something already down the road planned for you. And I want to say this because I'm a Christian. You all know, listen, we're in a new moon cycle. Come on, I can break it down for you from astrologies, the sun, the stars, and the moon. And I pray and meditate daily. So God does have a purpose for your life. And that purpose very well could have been for you, Kanikki, from the womb to be the first African-American poet laureate of Alexandria. But make no mistake, you had to take some actions. You had to be obedient. You had to be surrendering to that higher power that guides us, and your angels and your guides, to make the decisions that aligned with what he planned. And so we and I always give God all honor and credit first, but I never forget to give Darlene and add a girl, because I know what it's like to have to wake up when I don't feel like it and be disciplined in my prayer life and tired. I know what it means when I chose to stay out late the night before. And guess what God does? Wakes me up at 4 a.m. anyway. Won't let me go back to sleep. So not to hijack, but are you going in that direction? Do you believe that had something that you took?
Well, you know I do. Well, the people don't know. You know I do. I also, I always say, in this life, you got to know how to move, right? You got to know how to bob. You got to know how to weave. Of course, I believe that, if there is no work behind your faith, then it's dead. Of course, I believe that, right? But I also believe that even when you look back in my journals and I'm writing that I'm going to be the poet laureate of Alexandria, right? I also believe there is a specific time that God will align you with those people. So that's why I say it's not lost upon me that I am poet laureate in this time, that I didn't get poet laureate, in 2016. And then, I thought it was because, my health started to fail in 2017, right? So I thought if I was the poet laureate now, this is my thinking then. If I was the poet laureate now, I couldn't have done everything that I wanted to do because I was sick and I couldn't breathe and all these things. But then now that I have the title and I see what people saying, me being the first African-American poet laureate, I see what it does for other people. I see the inspiration that it has for other people. And I'm just thinking, no, early on, a reporter asked me probably like maybe in the first month of my tenure, she asked me, do you think being the first African-American poet laureate, do you think you have a different responsibility as the other poet laureates? And to which I replied, no, I have the same responsibility as the other poet laureates. But now, if I have been asked that question, I absolutely do, because I'm the first one who did it. So I'm going to make sure that I leave the door wide open for whoever of people of color who wants to do it next. So I absolutely have a responsibility to that.
So speaking of which, one of the things we often talk about in terms of retooling leadership is succession. And, Darlene talked about, and Marcus, open the door for the conversation about you being steadfast, that you continue to push forward. You went not only once, you went only twice, but 3 times a lady. And you won the poet laureate in Alexandria. And so as a result of that, the next step is always to be able to build that bridge for somebody else, because, we talked about, God and being positioned, but God put something in your mother. and your father
did.
That created a bridge and really empowered you, which we always want to let our Lights of the family, Lights of the Round Table family, know how important it is to be very intentional about setting your children up, creating frames of references. And so they created a frame of reference for you to even go into poetry, put you in a school with poetry class. You were trained, you were born for this moment. Now, how are you able, and what are you doing? Actually, I'm gonna answer my own question because you already got your poetry nights going. But what are you doing to really create that bridge and create succession so there are other folks that come behind you?
Well, right now I'm walking with the people. You know what I mean? So people, you do have to have at all times, I believe, you have to have someone who is on the same level as you. You have to have someone who you are leading, and you have to have someone to follow all the time, right? Because if you are following all the time, you're never going to be a leader. If you are just walking even with everybody, right, you think you've done enough, right? If everybody that I'm with, if I walk with all the poet laureates, I think I've done enough. If there's no leader, if I'm not looking up to anything, there's nothing for me to aspire to be, right? So as the person here in the middle that is walking, I have someone coming after me, right? So I have to be a good example for the people who are trying to follow me. And I have to also keep walking because you got to stay on the path, and have someone above me who is a leader that I can say, this is what I'm aspiring to be. So this is how I live my life. Of course, I do a lot of work with women. I always tell the story about how I wanted to be in a women's writers group, because in poetry events, and when you are performing your poetry, you're not getting all the way listened to. You're getting you're getting judged on the presentation of the word, right? So I also not just want to be heard, but I want to be read, because when you read me, you get a different understanding. Sometimes even the understanding that I didn't even know was in there, because it's not just me writing these words, it's God. So when you read something, then someone else reads something. This is the book. I wrote a memoir about being a wife. I got some emails from single women who said, this is a great book for single women who want to be a wife. I wasn't writing the book for them. I was writing the book for wives. You know what I mean? So my message was much bigger than I thought it was, right? So back to the writing group. I would go to women's writers groups because I wanted people to help me, critique my poetry, tell me what they've heard. All of the women writers groups that I would go to was lesbian based, right? So I would be the only heterosexual woman there. So I said, where is the place where all of the women are there? Where's the place? There was no place. So I had to create a place, right? So I said, I want one place where the only commonality is woman. That's it. I want to open up the doors for all the Black people, all the white people, ages 18 through 100. I want that, right? So after I won that Dashing Words contest, I was doing the Write Like a Woman networking workshop at Barnes & Nobles at the time, and they had decided not to do any outside events. So when I saw the gallery, I said, this would be a great opportunity for me to propose to them to have the Write Like a Woman here. And they gave me a meeting with a man who said, why is it just for women? I said, well, it's called Write Like a Woman, right? So obviously it's about women. So he said, well, we'll do 2 and see how it goes. And here we are 5 years later, still doing it, right? And it has connected. I realized who I am is I am a connector of people. I am the person who is open. My personality is big. If you tell me, Darius, I want to sing a song, and I say, oh, Marcus, he has a song for you to sing. So people are always asking me, it's so weird. People email me, do you know a plumber? You know a tree cutter? Because I said, why do people email me? Because I actually do know those people. And I see, friendships build. I see businesses build, because I realize that I'm the person who's going to talk for the other person who's afraid to tell this person this is what they need from them. So I realized that's who I said, oh, I'm a connector of people. I have a wealth of people that I know. And if you want to sing a song and he can write a song and he has the music, I'm going to create a band for y'all. I'm like, let's get together so y'all can do that, talk to each other.
And you
So-
model it, and you model it. You know, you mentioned before at the top of the hour that you were in places trying to find out, how do I write my book? How do I, you got a book, how do I do it? And nobody would share it with you. Nobody would open the door, and you did not repeat that. You made sure that other people knew. You connect the dots, which is, it's no wonder Queen Darlene brought you on, because you are truly a light. And I just want to commend you for the light that you're being, the light that you're shining, the connections of lights, and being secure enough to say, hey, I want to help other people do this. I want to help you reach your passion. I want to help you reach, because we get into that space, where we don't want to do that, And so in your work, in your poetry, what are some of the things that you talk about, in your poetry? Is it is it conscious? Is it exotic? Is it love? I mean, where does your poetry bound?
My poetry is in wide open genre of everything, basically. I have, as poet laureate, I have written a lot of things about history. And growing up, I hated history. So I said my dad would be so proud of me right now, because he was trying to force history on me, because I talked about writing a poem for Joseph McCoy. I went down to the place where he was murdered. I sat in the place to meditate. I said, what would you have me to say to these people? You know what I'm saying? Because, the stories that they tell about our Black people, of course, when they're murdered, it's all the bad things, right? I went through, listen, I'm in microfiche looking up stuff, trying to find out information about this person, which is all like nothing positive. So I got to write about your people before that. I got to write about, your ancestors, what your mother did, what your aunt did. Okay. I got to write about that, because I know when you have a good foundation, you know what I'm saying? When you raise a child up right, baby, they come back to God. You understand what I'm saying? So I just, as poet laureate, I just want to make sure that I'm writing the truth, leaving a good legacy. As far as personal poetry, child, I'm gonna write about some love. You know what I mean? Love yourself, love your man, love your woman. I'm writing about that. Love God. I'm writing everything, because in the beginning, the only thing you can write about is love, because you don't know nothing else. You think you know love. My early poetry was, I love him, he loves me. I don't love him no more. Why he don't love me no more? That was my early poetry, right? That was it. That's all I had. But like my dad said, if you're unable to write, if you think that you have writer's block, it is not writer's block. It is that you've written up to your experience. So if you have nothing to write, you need to read more and live more. Get you some life and get you some books. So
that's right.
And then you married a poet.
Yes, I know I want you to do another piece, Kanikki, and I just thought about, do you have a quick haiku you could drop? Do you just a quick haiku for and all these people who are not poets, spoken word artists, haiku is a form of poetry that could be just a few words, but a drop some real nuggets. Okay.
What about a haiku and a Kanikki quote? I'm about to give it to you real good. Kanikki quote and a haiku. All right, here's a haiku. It's called friend definition. Want a friend, be one. But there's no guarantee that friend will be one. Okay. And here's the Kanikki quote. People that know that you believe in God will try to use the name of God to get what they want in the name of themselves.
Say that again.
Yeah. But the Lord wants you to do it, child. The Lord ain't told you that, because the Lord ain't told me. Because I got direct connect to the source. So Lord ain't told you that, child. Bye.
Oh, I love that.
Wow. So I see Kiki Johnson, one of our lights.
She said bars.
She did. She said bars. Click, click, click. Let's get it rolling. Let's get it popping. That is awesome to be able to do that. So that inspiration, you said, you went down and actually meditated in the very space where the brother was and said, speak through me. What can I use? Darlene talked about meditation, the power of words. Kanikki, how people, I just saw something the other day, question that somebody put up on Instagram. Are you okay with some of your friends calling you the N-word? And are you okay with some of your friends calling you the B-word? And one of the things that was very interesting about it, we're talking about nigger and bitch. Okay, so bitch is a female dog. So let's just get that straight and clear. Nigger is an ignorant person by definition, has no color, We sometimes attach it, people attach it to people of African descent, African American descent. But my grandmother used to say all the time, you know, nigga ain't got no color. She said, great ignorance. It ain't got nothing to do with that. How powerful are words in your estimation, and in terms of how we address and call each other? You know, is it an affectionate way to call us ugly things, or how do you see that?
You know, it is funny that you said those were very strong words, but do you see now that a lot of young people use the word petty? Like, I'm petty. Like that's the new thing, you know.
Right, okay.
Petty. I'm like, being petty is not a good thing.
Oh, and they're attached it to themselves.
They're attached it to themselves. I'm petty. And I'm like, that is not a good thing. Of course, you know, whatever you speak after the words I am, so you shall be. Right? So I am, even in prayer, like right now in my meditation of prayer, I have stopped using negative things. Meaning negative words. Like, I am changing the way that I pray, right?
Come on.
So instead of saying, you know, Lord, fix my heart, right? I'll use my heart as an example, because, you know, for months and months I prayed, Lord, heal my heart, right? So instead of saying, Lord, heal my heart, I say, thank you, Lord, that my heart is healed.
Amen.
You know what I mean? So it's like a changing of all positive things. So it's a work to do, because I don't want to speak any negative things. Instead of saying, you know, I don't want to be late for work, I'm gonna say I'm always on time.
Come on.
You see what I'm saying? So like changing it all to positive, and learning that in your 40s is a hard work. But when you speak all positive all the time, you know, I had a friend who called me. She was going through something, and she said something negative, I say something positive. She said, "You just not gonna let me be negative today." I said, "No day."
That's
no
right.
day.
That's
I'm not gonna let you be negative no day. You know what I mean? Because we're not negative people. You understand what I'm saying?
And Kanikki, we talk a lot about on the show. We talk about the idea of the power of assumption, and the power of intention, and how they are as real as the power of gravity and the force of gravity. And what you're talking about there is setting your mental and spiritual construct around you, your aura, in such a way that it's almost like, I don't know if you saw the movie Independence Day, where they shoot the missiles at the big ship and they just explode before they get there, because it can't get through your filter. It's like a good antiviral Dr. Rollins, mask, where it can't get to you. And so it's very important that you do speak with intention, and that we do teach our, especially our young boys and girls, these concepts, because they're not being taught that. When you can say that you're petty, you can use these derogatory terms, you end up that is the machine with which you start living life. But like now they're teaching with early childhood education. These kids, they're teaching them learning through play. People are like, well, that's some BS. They need to learn history and this, that, and the other. And I explained to my friend the other day, the idea of learning through play in the Montessori system is that you're building not a Ford Pinto from back in the day. You're building a Ferrari. You want your child to have a Bentley mind. Yeah. And then you want them to put the proper gasoline in it. So the power of intention and the word that you use creates the construct through which, when you start hearing these other things and living these other things, I think it's brilliant, as you said. I wrote it down here. If you have nothing to write, get some life and get some books and create a positive construct, because then you can live beyond your experiences through others and in the positive God-led way. So I think that's an important thing that you're,
Well, hey, look, I got to stop real quick and just welcome all of our YouTube viewers. Herb Murphy said, we have learned to naturalize the words of our oppressor by redefining it to the positive. Come on, Herb. I see you dropping that. Hey, look, if you got a haiku for us today, drop it on us. If you got a freestyle poetry, drop it on us. Put it in the chat so we can get a puff off of that. So, Darlene, go ahead. I know you want to talk on it.
Yes, I just want to say that we talk about this all the time. The words that we speak is an energy. There is a vibration to the words. And when you speak positive words, the energy vibration is a high frequency. Negative words is a low frequency. And we want to always ensure that our chakras are rotating so that our energy and our aura is at the highest frequency. And that has to do with what we think, what we feel, what we speak. And this is why it's so important to pray from a place of gratitude. 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 I'm abundant already. Whatever I desire, I manifest through the meditation and alignment of my words with my prayer life and my thought and my actions. And I do not deviate from that energetic frequency. And what happens is the law of gravity that Marcus talks about, it draws and attracts people, opportunity directly to me. I'm telling you, when you get grounded and centered in this and you begin to understand how to tap into the power, your power that's on the inside, and aligning your thought life with your speech life and your action life, you will transform and create the life you desire. It is so amazing. Kanikki, I know that we are rounding down to the hour. I know you have another amazing piece that you're going to share with us, and then I'd like for you to be sure to let our audience know how they can connect with you as a poet, follow you on social media, and of course, any upcoming events that you have.
Okay, awesome. Well, let me just say, Marcus, Darlene, and Darius, you have set me up very nicely with this last conversation and this topic, because it goes into what I was going to do for the last poem. You understand what I'm saying? See, that is great. So
It's those chills you put on us this morning, because whenever I get the chills, we got a hashtag the lights are on, but now I might have to have the chills because that's what you gave me this morning.
Okay. So I just did a workshop last Saturday. Last Saturday I did a workshop, and the prompt that I had people write on is I had them write an ode to poem, right? So, and your ode to poem is a praise poem, right? It's an ode to something. So I said, think about what people have teased you about, what you were bullied about. Think about what you bully yourself about. Think about something that you can't change, what you were born with, that you can't change. And I was telling them that I had just gave this message to a group of Girl Scouts, and I said, no one can talk down to how God made you. Right? Your nose, your height, your size, your skin color, your eyes. No one can talk down to that. That's how you were meant to be. That's how God put you here, right? Nobody was meant to be the same. So I had them to write this piece, an ode to whatever, giving praise to whatever you have downed yourself about and other people have downed you about, an ode to my short legs, an ode to my long legs, an ode to my big eyes, my big nose, whatever. It was amazing. So I realized at that time, it's Mental Health Month, and I thought about this ode to poem. I have a poem that is an older poem, but still a good message. So this is my ode to myself. It is called Milk Drinking. Okay. So recently, I had an epiphany, a sudden manifestation of the essence of the meaning of being short. So I've decided I would no longer look through the eyes of someone else to see myself. From here on out, I'm drinking milk in a blue milk carton, and written on the outside of this, it says silk. From here on out, I'm a ride in that chick. I'll no longer be depressed. I'll be determined, or better yet, taller, and I'll exist in a new world of order where the term holding me down will be replaced with holding me up. My cup runneth over, and the chip that you have on your shoulder, I'm knocking it off. And what? I've had enough, and you ain't gonna do nothing. Isn't that what you said I was? Or was it nothing I was supposed to be? Titled me, baby mama in the projects, getting food stamps and welfare checks. And now I'm doing things that you wouldn't even believe. Instead of popping my collar, I'm popping my whole sleeve. Honey, please, you wish you could be me when you are a problem starter. Looking at me through your eyes, no wonder I kept getting shorter. But now I see things more clearly. Publicly, you mentally abused me, had me thinking on your level, a clever naysayer, dream slayer. Now I am a believer, an overachiever, a sister with skills, and still wearing 3-inch heels. And I would say that old cliche, I wish you can see me now, but in real life, I'm not even looking in your direction. I'm looking in the mirror at a beautiful God-made reflection, putting one foot in front of the other. So from now on, call me lover of life. Talia and Selah's mama and Marquis' wife, doing everything through Christ that gives me strength. Philippians 4:13, call me queen, beautiful human being. I said, I'm drinking milk now. I heard it does the body good. I'm doing everything impossible you had me thinking I never could. I've decided to no longer define myself with another person's definition. I said, I've decided to no longer define myself with another person's definition. I had an epiphany, y'all, of my own existence.
Yeah.
Yay!
Somebody, girl. Oh, that's so good.
Wow. Wow. I'm Serena and Mark his wife. Serena, what's your daughter's name?
I have a daughter coming. Her name is Selah. And I have a daughter now. Her name's Talia.
Oh, wonderful. Well, congratulations to you and the family.
Thank you very much.
Another poet on the scene, if you know what I mean.
Yes, this is a manifestation of words, I have to say. A manifestation of words, I'm letting you know.
I know that's right. Well, we're on the wrap up. We only have about 3 more minutes for the show, but we are so excited. We want to definitely make sure that you all go to our YouTube channel, The Lights of the Round Table. I put the link in the chat, so please get a puff off of that. And make sure that you go in, like us, subscribe, and come back and hashtag The Lights Are On. But our queen, please, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for representing not only the city of Alexandria, but African Americans, African American women, mothers, sisters that are out here just working and pushing. And thanks for also giving a voice, to those who didn't have a voice. You went to a room and you saw it was her sisters, and all of them happened to be of the LGBTQ community. You said, look, let me go create a group where everybody, can be a part of that. So thank you for opening the door, for those who want to come in and share. Queen Darlene and Marcus, give them something before we roll out. I know y'all got some freestyle poetry y'all want to throw down.
Look at you. I'm just going to say, create the life you want with your thoughts, your words, and your action aligned, tapping into on the inside. Stop looking outside, within, align with the greatest part of you, your highest self. That's my, yeah.
Yeah, man, I decided no longer to define myself by someone else's definition. And that happened, I think, all 4 of us on this panel a long time ago. And we talk a lot about our life model, Kanikki, and it's called Deeper. And the idea of having a dream, being engaged in it, having a fertile environment around you, which is a choice, putting it in a written plan, because if it's not written, it is a dream, executing upon it, and then reflecting. And the reflection is that whole evaluation, but also the having the thanks with gratitude, not petition. Dear God, please help me do this, But dear God, thank you for all that I am. Thank you for all that is coming my way. Thank you for the ability to learn what I need to learn when I need to learn it. And I know that you put it in me, so therefore I shall achieve it. And when you do that, you understand that that is you living by your own definition. And I plead to people who are out here listening to this that it is not, you are not bound by color. You are not bound by gender. You are bound by what you do and how you engage in your life. And you know what? If you're out here and you're like, well, I don't have a dream, then do as Kanikki Jakarta said and go up your experiences. And how do I up my experiences? My experiences? No. You can piggyback off someone else's experiences until you get them. You see somebody burn their hand in fire, you don't really need to go do this and burn your hand. Trust that hurt. Don't do it. You know what I'm saying? And so read up, talk up, think up, dream up. And eventually when you do up, you will be up.
I know that's right.
That's right.
There he is. He dropped that mic, didn't he? Well, look, we got to roll. Our queen got to go. We got to make sure that she gets the opportunity to just share how can people reach you. And we want to make sure that we're going to be, I want to come. I want to drop Black Dove. I can't share it now. All I can say is peace and love for my piece. But I want to drop and come do something on your open mic night freestyle. But share with us how they can reach you and how they can tune into your open mic night, please. Thank you so much. God bless you and your family and the upcoming child.
Thank you. It is KanikkiJ.com, KanikkiJ@Gmail, KanikkiJ on all social media. So it's KANIKKIJ. So KANIKKIJ. So tell your friends, your mama, everybody.
As you did that in sign language. If you
In sign language, y'all don't know about sign language. We ain't talking about that either.
I know
You know, I'm trying to get all the words.
All right, awesome. Listen, well, we got it up. We put it up in there. We are going to let you roll because it's time for you to do your thing. We so appreciate you. We'd love for you to come back. Would you come back, please?
Of course I would.
Share some more poetry and get people all fired up, pumped up, and ready to go?
I sure will.
Excellent. So listen, there it is. You see it, www.kanikkij.com. So you can reach her, you can follow her, you can buy her book. You know, just support this queen. Remember, you got to push positive people, push positive people.
Amen.
There you go. All right, queen. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. We appreciate you. And remember, the lights are on. Subscribe to us. We're on YouTube now. Yo! We got 3 shows on YouTube, and you can reach us each and every week. The Lights of the Round Table on YouTube. The link is in the chat.
Bye.
Oh, wonderful. Peace and love. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
You too.
Hashtag, the lights are on.
the lights are on.
The lights are on.